What seeds should you be growing right now in the UK in a small city garden? Well, I've got my old seed box site from last year and I saved a number of seeds. I use this template here which tells me roughly what to plant what time of the year, and I used it a couple of years, so I always have this paper in the seed box. I'm going to run through some of the things that you could be planting now. So you're talking start of spring, we're not far from spring now, so March time, we're mid-March. I've got a number of things I'll give you ideas about if you're thinking about planting, and also a diary for myself, so we'll see how it started. I've got some seeds here saved from last year from the plants, so things like zucchini, pumpkin. I've got some flower seeds here as well, and also, well, we've got quite a few pumpkins, the big variety and the small variety, because they did quite well for us in our garden, and some climbing beans and broad beans as well, which was saved from my last year's crop. We did quite a lot of broad beans last year. So right now you can actually start a number of things if you want to start them indoors, or if you've got a small greenhouse or outdoor area. So you'll see it's time to make labels. So I've got an old milk bottle here. I've done a video about this before, showing you a quick easy way of getting tabs with a permanent marker. This just helps us because we're planning to plant quite a few seeds, and you know, this time of year we just have loads of pots with seeds in. So as always, I'm going to use these old fruit containers. I normally double them up to make it a bit more secure, so they're normally quite thin. Fill them with a bit of compost. This is normally sieved compost, so seeding compost or even leftover compost from last year. It doesn't need a lot of nutrients because it's just the seeds that we're starting off. So I just tap them down and get them a firm start. Enough compost there to stop them drying out, because in the greenhouse here it does get quite hot. It's about 15 degrees at the moment. We've had a good day here, but I am expecting colder days to come. We always get this every year, where we get a false start to the season and then it gets cold again, and a lot of the seeds tend to die out if you go too early. We'll do some of the hardy ones here. You'll see I put a compost on the bottom and then I sieved a layer on top, because the first thing I'm going to plant here is leeks. So we'll put a few leeks in and get them started off early. We do like some leeks, and they do quite well for me in the garden. We normally had them every year, I think, for the last 2 years, and they're giving us a decent crop. Potato and leek soup is very good with these. So we're starting these nice and early. 3 containers, well, I might do 2 containers of leek. You basically sprinkle them on. I've already pre-watered the compost and the mix, so it should be good to start those off right about now. And they have a long season normally, so you can normally prick them out and put them in a larger container or a bed. So remember, label everything up. So I've got my little milk DIY labels here. I'll just write leek on there and put in a label so I know what's going in where. So that's number 1 crop that we've started off, leeks. They'll do quite well for us, quite quick. No, not quite quickly, will they? It'll take a good 6 months, 7 months before we start seeing something decent. But I normally put this in the side and forget about them. So right now here, we'll give them about 6 or 8 weeks, and then we'll start seeing shoots. Once they get pencil sized, then we can move them on to one of the beds that I've got lined up. So we're doing a full video this time. I had a spare day, so I thought I'll do a full video and explain everything going on right now. We'll have a few as these progress. So that's the leeks. We'll put them up on the little shelf on the top and let them do their thing. This is an enclosed greenhouse type thing with the polypropylene, you know, the little plastic sheets. So it's enclosed. I've got another few lettuces that I want to plant up as well, because lettuce you can do all year round, and they don't really need the really hot season because they tend up bolting. So I've got some lettuce here, Wilco type lettuce, and I'll put the lettuce seeds in, and you can sow in March, it does say on the packet. So we are okay for sowing lettuce. So right now we're looking at leeks was number 1, lettuce is number 2, and we'll see what else we've got. These are nice little thin seeds that you can use to plant, and I plant them quite densely. You can either prick them out later on or just cut them for the leaves and not let them go to the full head. So it depends what you do. I might make a couple of these actually. I've got another dry compost here. I think I did something in there last year. So what I'll do is I'll use that to make the extra option. So we get some new fresh compost in here and give that a little tap down, and we'll put in some water, pre-water it, and we'll put some little lettuce seeds in this as well. So these dry out quite quickly, so we're going to work on these and see how they do for us. We've got a bigger container here, so I did this last time in the really big container. I've got little gem lettuce as well. It's 2 different varieties that we can look at working on. So we'll give these a quick little scatter, and that's 2 decent crops that you should be thinking about starting now, especially in the UK weather, because it's kind of not really hot, is it? So we'll see how these do. Got a few more lined up, so stay tuned for the additional ones that we'll be looking at starting up. And what I'm using here is a sieve again, just to put a nice thin layer of compost along the top, so they easily shoot up once they start getting some roots down. Tap them down, give them a nice base, and we'll add them to our upper shelf here. And as you know, once these start going, already you'll see there the top shelf starting to get full. We've got a layer above this shelf and two behind us as well. So we'll quickly get this cleaned up and look at what else we can do. I will be putting some peas and broad beans. I'm putting them in a container, like a Tupperware container with a bit of tissue and water, and I leave them inside, because what tends to happen is mice tend to steal them if you put them out. So I'll get those started off. That was there, basil. So last year we left basil indoors and it dried up, and it actually smells really good. So we've got dry leaves here we can use. I've taken the compost out and I'll mix that up with some fresh compost, and that rejuvenates that, so we can actually reuse compost, especially for seeding and that kind of thing. So you'll see here I just sieve it through into my container at the bottom, and then we can reuse that as we start planting a lot more. In about 2 or 3 months we'll have a lot more planted up. So we look at zucchinis, cucumbers, pumpkin. We're starting all those things, but it's a bit too early right now. We'll start the flowers as well. I'm going to give you a nice early start here, so if you haven't thought about it, this weekend or next weekend would be a good idea to get some of these up. So here's what we have done today. We've added some leeks, we've got some Wilco lettuce, we've got some little gem lettuce in 2 large containers. So I'll see you on the next video.